Hello everyone, I want to welcome everyone to my channel, Word 365. Listen, I have been doing a uh, a couple rounds through the internet or on YouTube on a couple platforms. And there's a lot of confusion going on out there regarding, what's going to happen. First, is are we going to go through the tribulation and then the rapture, or is the rapture going to happen first and then the tribulation? However you slice it, make no mistake, it is happening. And now everyone that has heard about this, and they've seen the movies, they've seen the headlines, and there have been many other ones that people such as myself, but there have been many others out there that have gone out there before us telling about this certain time. And there's actually people that have spilled blood. And this is dating all the way back before them. There's people that actually lost their lives because of, this information. Because some people, they'd rather keep their head in the sand. And they were quick to be classified as witches, just to hush them up. So anyway, I was on YouTube, and there's these channels, bro. They really back it up. They back it up with the music. They back it up with the this could be real, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think I could possibly be a help to the matter if, we are really looking for a some type of guidance here. And this is nothing to debunk or, say, ha ha, you're wrong or anything of that, because, when you're sharpening iron, it only makes you better for information that one can actually log on and reference. So here, I got a couple reference points for you. The matter was on Thessalonians 4:7, because here is where some people are saying, see, I told you the rapture's not going to happen until later. And because they're reading the Bible from A to Z, and they're looking at it as a chronological timeline and event timeline. And sometimes, you hold on. Sometimes I kept saying the word time, anyway. But there are situations where they can actually read the Bible and understand that these are questions, these are certain events that were spoken about in a certain scene that portrays a time to come, like Thessalonians. So, in Thessalonians 4, it says, after that we who are still alive and are left will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. So a lot of people say, see, that's some post-tribulation talk there. A lot of faithful believers are going to go through all of the beheadings and stuff like that. And, dude, don't be scared. You're going to have to fight. You're going to have to fight if it gets to that point. There's a lot of things that have to happen, but we are in that direction. That it can either come at a rapid pace or it can come the way it's been coming. But a lot of you are going to have to start reaching out to God. You're going to have to start praying. You're going to really have to buckle down, because it's happening. And it's not saying that it has not happened in the past, because there has been several trip outs with Iran. But there's a group of people that are hell bent on making this event happen where it's irreversible, where no matter what, the timeline is going to play out. But the one question that we forget to ask is it in God's plan? Because what I mean by that, yes, God is tolerating the mess. He know that these idiots were going to do something like this, Because I'm like thinking, look at my kids. They're like going amok here, But anyhow, I don't want to get off track with this. But there's a group of people that are they're hell bent on making this happen. And if it is in alignment with God's word, it is happening. But yes, indeed, there is one thing that people need to understand. There is a way out for those who are faithful in this. And don't forget about, because when I say faithful in this, there's people that have been true to this forever, and there's going to be people who never been in the grind, like those people with the 5 talents, and everything, or, they were paid the same wages as those that have been working. Salvation comes to those that been in it and that just received it. But now, people are scavenging. They're scavenging around. They're like, Lord, what are we going to do? And they have their heads stuck on, we're going to have to go through this mess, man. But if you read Revelations to the Church of Philadelphia, and to the Church of Philadelphia, it's not just talking specifically to Philadelphia. I'm sure you guys know that. But how many of us are the Church of Philadelphia? Let me say that again. How many of us are the Church of Philadelphia? Okay? Because when you look in Revelations and you venture from, to the letter to the churches, some of these churches describe the very nature that we are living in. You have this church, they tolerate this. A lot of stuff is coming in. I know the goal is to, bring people to salvation, because salvation is for everyone. But there are some churches, there are some places that are tolerating things just to gain a soul. But when you tolerate it, you better be in the scopes of development, not indulging. Okay? So, moving on. But when we get to, because before we get on, let's be real. How many of us are the church of Paragram? If I said that right. How many of us are the church of Smyrna? How many of us are the church or Sardis? Okay? How many of us live the lives of like these group of churches here that we just, the names I just completely probably destroyed. But we got that Philadelphia though. But how many of us, again, live life according to how the book describes it? are we, as it says here, I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an, open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength. Meaning, we have been going through a lot, haven't we? We've been dealing with a lot, right? We've been dealing with so much. Yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. Why does he mention that part? Huh? Let's roll back real quick. Why does he say right here? You have little strength. Yep, you have kept my word and have not denied my name. So there's going to be something going on, isn't it? There's going to be some type of pushback with, like it is now. They're taking out this, they have taken out that, and we're fighting to keep it in. That's not denying it. We're fighting, and they just want us to deny him, but we say no. Because you can't take away that situation that we were all once in, and we seen the Lord move. It just wasn't by coincidence. You know what I'm talking about. Don't ever let somebody strip you of that, because that's a very convicting moment in some people's lives, and they try to strip you of it and say, nah, that never happened, that ain't true. What you believe in is total falsity. Because you know what the Lord has done for you in your life. Moving on. And it says, I will make those who are the synagogue of Satan, who claim to be Jews, though they are not. Dang. There's a lot going on in the world right now that's making you go, If that verse doesn't slap you, I don't know what the heck does, man. Wake up with that one. Because that's unveiling. This is not just it's never just been a verse. It's never just been a verse, but let me tell you, it's very, very unveiling. You got to admit, this stuff, when you read the Word of God, all of this stuff, it just, you begin, it's like you've been reading it all along, but when you start to see it blossom, it's like, yo, you can't deny it. Let's keep on. Let's keep moving. But are liars. I will make them come and fall down at your feet and acknowledge that I have loved you. And it goes on. Here's your, let's, like, you guys, I buy and sell, homes, and I'm in the finance side, I'm struggling, but I'm trying to get it because, things are real. But anyway, when you say something like this, since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I look at this as you're getting a huge bonus out of this. Here's the commission for your faith. Okay? I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come upon the whole world to test those who live on the earth. Come on now. So the rapture will happen to this church. Are you the Church of Philadelphia? I sure hope I'm the Church of Philadelphia. But all those other brothers and sisters who are under the umbrella of these churches, let's call them, some people, they want to get way, the principality, the angels, that government, whatever. But what church are you a part of? because there will be a rapture. Bank on it. Bank on it. Because it says it right here. Why did God say, I'm going to keep you from the hour, regarding a trial that is going to come upon the earth to test mankind? Why did he say that? I mean, so stop telling people that there will not be a rapture. I'm sure your heart is in the right place. I'm sure it is. But you have to acknowledge Revelation 3. Think about it. I never like to do long videos because I don't really believe that some people, if you get to it, you scroll through it. But if you're driving, obviously, I appreciate you guys tuning in because it's important. Anytime someone tells you that the rapture's not going to happen, you take them to Revelation and says, what type of life are you living? Take them to Revelation 3, and then backtrack over to some of the church, the letters that were written to some of those churches, and it should give you a level of confidence of what church you belong to. I call it confidence because at least you're part of a church, and being a part of a church and knowing that the church is inside of you, or the temple, the spirit, however you want to call it. Because all of it is systemic, from spiritual to physical to all of that. Okay? What church are you a part of? Inside, and where you're fellowshipping at. It doesn't mean you just get up and, they got all that going on. Because there's room at the cross for everyone. But you draw the line somewhere. If you have to advance yourself out of that church, I don't care if it's a mega church. If you ain't got all the takeaways and the feeling, give you an example. You came in one way, you're gonna leave another way. You will never be the same once you receive Christ in your life. I guarantee it. One place, one church, let's call it church A, B, C, and D. A tolerates this mess. B tolerates this mess, but it's a little less. C tolerates this, but it's a lot less than A and B. And then when you get to D, it is exactly what you are looking for. But you first began at church A. Church A was almost like the club. Man, you remember we did all that, man? That's why I met Susie. You remember? And then you went from church A to church B. Oh, I like what they're teaching. It's not like church A where it was all that, this and that. But so as you advance, you will find yourself getting to the Church of Philadelphia. You will let me tell you something. There's some good churches out there. But that foundation of the Pentecost. Yeah. You wanna get down with this. You want power. Take yourself to a Pentecostal church. Where all that stuff that the secular, like, no, straight up Holy Ghost worship. Right when you walk into a Pentecost, you may hear the word a little bit. You may hear the word a little bit in a Pentecostal church. After you hear that word, they're gonna get to calling on God's name. They're gonna get to calling on God's name. They can't help themselves. They can't help themselves. They get into the preacher. The preacher gets into like one or two. He'll go through like six verses. And next thing you know, the spirit unhit him. Hit that lady over there. They just can't help themselves. Because the word is so powerful. So powerful. I'm not discrediting any other church, but everyone knows that if they go to a Pentecostal church, it is on. If you go to a Pentecostal church, say a prayer because you may get called out. Fortunately, there's some prophetic preachers and teachers that will whisper in your ear now some of the crap you did without putting you on blast. But back in the day, your whole laundry would have been out there at the church. And that's why people steered away from the Pentecostals. Because your stuff you're gonna get aired out. But anyhow, I'm sorry I went on a rant about a Pentecostal church. It's just I know what I know. You know, I fellowship everywhere. I go to a non-denominational. I fellowship at a non-denominational church. To be quite honest with you on that. You know. But I was ordained from a Pentecostal church in Tupelo, Mississippi. But all right, you guys, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for tuning in with me and letting me share this with you. Just to recap here, it's nothing taken away taken away from Thessalonians. You can't take it away, but the people that says that we're going through the post, they just need to understand that. For Thessalonians 4:17 is explaining the trial and tribulation factor after the rapture has already taken place. What you're seeing before you, because they were going to be, the people that went before them, they were caught up. Those that were asleep in the Lord were caught up, and then those after that were left, that was left were called up to meet him forever in glory. Alrighty. So that will show you that when he's coming back with power. But yes, there will be a rapture. What church are you? Are you the Church of Philadelphia? If not, let's get it.